Black wings, black thoughts, 10 years old. I remember that summer vividly, the kind of summer that seems to stretch on forever when you're a child. The days were long, the sun was relentless, and the air was thick with the scent of freshly cut grass. It was a time of endless possibilities, of adventures waiting to be had, and of mysteries lurking just beyond the horizon. Summer. Thick air, heavy with the smell of cut grass. The kind of smell that clings to your clothes and fills your lungs, making you feel alive and connected to the earth. It was on one of those sweltering afternoons that I first saw him. That's when I saw him first. A large crow, perched on the fence post at the edge of our yard. He was unlike any bird I had ever seen before. There was something almost regal about him, a quiet dignity that set him apart from the other noisy, flapping creatures that filled the summer skies. Big Crow perched on the fence post, watching me. His eyes were like chips of obsidian, dark and glistening, and they seemed to see right through me. I felt a strange connection to this bird, as if he held some secret knowledge that I was meant to uncover. He wasn't like the others, always cawing and flapping. No, this one was different. He was still, silent, and his presence was almost hypnotic. I found myself drawn to him, unable to look away. This one, he was still, silent. There was a calmness about him that was both unsettling and comforting. It was as if he was waiting for something, and I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever it was, it involved me. Something about those black eyes, like chips of obsidian, pulled me in. They were deep and mysterious, and I felt as though I could lose myself in them. It was a feeling I couldn't quite explain, but it was powerful and undeniable. I picked up a stone. It was a smooth, round pebble that fit perfectly in the palm of my hand. I don't know why I did it, but in that moment, it felt like the right thing to do. Felt its weight in my hand. It was cool to the touch, a stark contrast to the heat of the day. I could feel its solidness, its permanence, and it gave me a strange sense of power. The world shrunk down to me, the crow, and the stone. In that moment, nothing else existed. It was just the two of us, locked in a silent standoff, each waiting to see what the other would do. The air was thick with tension, and I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't know what was going to happen next, but I knew that whatever it was, it would change everything. The Routine of the Outsider. A title that might sound mysterious, but for me it was a daily reality. A routine that became a part of my life, a ritual that I couldn't break free from. Every day, he was there. Same time, same fence post, like clockwork, my secret ritual. The crow with its dark feathers and piercing eyes became a symbol of constancy in my ever-changing world. It was as if he was waiting for something, or maybe someone. I'd watch him from my window. Hidden behind the dusty curtains, I felt like a spy in my own home. The window was my portal to a world that seemed both familiar and alien. Through that glass I observed the crow, trying to decipher the secrets he held. He never seemed to eat, never called out, just sat there in a contemplative silence. It was as if he was meditating, lost in his own thoughts. The stillness of the crow mirrored the stillness I felt inside, a quiet that was both comforting and unsettling. Just watched, waited. His eyes, sharp and observant, seemed to see through the layers of reality. I often wondered what he was waiting for. Was it a sign, a message, or was he simply a reflection of my own waiting, my own longing for something more? My parents, they never noticed. Too busy with their own lives, their own routines. They were like actors in a play, following a script that didn't include me. Their world was filled with noise and activity, but it was a world I couldn't penetrate. Too wrapped up in their own world. I was invisible, just like the crow. In the shadows of my room I felt a kinship with the bird. We were both outsiders, watching the world from the fringes, unnoticed and unimportant. Maybe that's why I felt connected to him. In his silence I found a companion. In his stillness, I found a mirror to my own soul. The crow became more than just a bird. He became a symbol of my own isolation, my own search for meaning. Two outcasts bound by silence. In the quiet moments we shared, I found a strange comfort. The crow and I, we were both waiting for something, both searching for a connection in a world that seemed to have forgotten us. And in that shared silence, we found a bond that transcended words. Trapped in sunlight, drawn to shadows. The other kids, they had friends, games, laughter. I had the crow, my dark secret. I hated them, their normalcy, their ease in the world. Jealousy, it festered inside me. The crow, he understood. He saw the darkness I carried. He was the only one, and I would become his only end. A stone, a thud, a feather. One afternoon the urge became too strong. I crept outside, stone clutched tight. The crow, he didn't move, didn't even blink, like he was waiting. The throw, the sickening thud, a single black feather drifting on the breeze. Guilt, sharp and cold, flooded me, but beneath it a sliver of something else. Power. Years went by. The guilt faded, the power remained. It became a hunger, a need. More crows, different methods, slingshots, BB guns, traps. Each kill brought a fleeting sense of control, of release. But the hunger, it always came back, stronger each time, an insatiable darkness growing inside me. Tools of a twisted trade. Adulthood brought refinement, air rifles, high-powered scopes. I studied their habits, learned their calls, became a predator in their world. My life a carefully constructed facade, successful career, loving wife, but behind their backs the crows, always the crows, my dark obsession. The cycle continues, unbroken. They never found the bodies. I was meticulous, careful. It became a game, me against them. The hunter and the hunted, but the darkness, it was spreading. My wife, she'd ask about the nightmares. The way I'd wake up screaming, feathers clutched in my fist. I'd tell her it was work stress, she deserved better. I knew that, but I couldn't stop. A murder of crows, a symphony of screams. One night it all changed. I was hunting, as always, but this time they were waiting. Hundreds of them, black eyes burning with an eerie intelligence. They surrounded me, a symphony of screeches and caws. Their noise, it was deafening, accusing. I tried to run, but they were everywhere, clawing, pecking, scratching. The Weight of 1,000 Eyes. A title that speaks of the burden I carry, a burden that has haunted me for as long as I can remember. It all began on a night like any other, or so I thought. Little did I know, my life was about to change forever. I woke up in the hospital, bandaged head, broken bones, the sterile smell of antiseptic filled the air, and the beeping of machines was a constant reminder of my fragile state. I tried to piece together what had happened, but my mind was a foggy mess. The pain was excruciating, but it was nothing compared to the confusion and fear that gripped me. My wife, she looked at me with pity and fear. Her eyes were red from crying, and her hands trembled as she reached out to touch me. "What happened?" I managed to croak out, my voice barely a whisper. She shook her head, unable to speak, and I could see the torment in her eyes. It was then that I realized something was terribly wrong. The doctors, they called it a psychotic break, hallucinations. They spoke in hushed tones, their faces grim. They told me I had been found wandering the streets, raving about crows and eyes. They said I had been in a state of delirium and that my injuries were self-inflicted, but I knew better. I knew what I had seen, but I knew the truth. The crows, they were real. I had seen them, felt their presence. They had been watching me, judging me. Their eyes, so many eyes, piercing through the darkness, seeing into the very depths of my soul. I tried to explain this to the doctors, but they just looked at me with pity, as if I were a lost cause. The crows, they were real. They had been following me for weeks, maybe even months. At first I thought it was just my imagination, but then I started seeing them everywhere. On rooftops and trees, even in my dreams. They were always there, watching, waiting. I couldn't escape them, no matter how hard I tried. And they were judging me. Their eyes, so cold and unfeeling, seemed to bore into my very soul. I could feel their judgment, their condemnation. It was as if they knew my darkest secrets, the things I had tried so hard to bury. I couldn't hide from them, couldn't escape their gaze. It was driving me mad. Their eyes, they followed me everywhere. No matter where I went, no matter what I did, they were always there. Watching, waiting, judging. I tried to ignore them, tried to convince myself that it was all in my head, but it was no use. They were real, and they were relentless. I couldn't escape their gaze, couldn't escape their judgment. 1,000 eyes, reflecting the darkness I had nurtured. They saw everything, knew everything. My darkest secrets, my deepest fears, my most shameful acts. There was no hiding from them, no escaping their judgment. They were a constant reminder of the darkness within me, a darkness I had tried so hard to deny. My dark secret, it was no longer a secret, it was my prison. The weight of 1,000 eyes, always watching, always judging. I was trapped, unable to escape their gaze, unable to escape my own guilt. The crows, they were my tormentors, my judges, my executioners, and there was no escape.